The first basis of collaboration is that you have a shared vision of what the future can look like in the communities that you serve. In Africa right now, many of the fintechs are focused on payments. That's the easy part. In fact, payments is a very simple business. It's an information business. If I can send a text message to you for free, technically, I should be able to send a payments message to you for free. And that is the basis of a lot of the revolution taking place in payments per se. What's nice is the valuations of a lot of the payment players in Africa is very attractive. Except that realizing these valuations is not a done deal because many of the stock markets in Africa are not doing well. In fact, even the US stock market is not doing well in monetizing or listing fintech startups. This year alone, there's only been 2 fintech startups, and those were 2 delayed fintech startups from previous years in the US. So the valuations that you see here are paper valuations. We don't know where they're going to go. But what needs to happen is, what happens after you ace the payments business? And there's a phrase that I say in my book, of which I have several copies here that I would love to share with some of you, is that if the product doesn't change, nothing changes. And that is the essence of innovation in finance. If all you're doing in finance is replicating the products you already have, you are not making a difference to the society that you serve, and it's just as well that you didn't exist. For a very long time, Philippines has been exporting millions of its citizens out to the rest of the world as employees. And this whole remittance business of sending money back to the Philippines was a big industry that the banking industry just couldn't ace. Because with the hawala businesses and with the money remittance companies, which are able to remit money at a much lower cost, and even the telco companies here in Africa, it's an industry that the banks never quite understood and could not improve on to be able to be competitive. But the Philippines banks figured out something that they could do, which the hawalas and the remittance companies couldn't, which is to enable the remittances that are being created to buy homes in the Philippines, to create assets that generate wealth for these workers who are outside of the country. The Philippines today has a remittance industry of about $40 billion. India is at the very top at over 100 billion, 120 billion or so. Then China and one other country, Mexico, I think. And then comes the Philippines. And Nigeria is about $20 billion a year worth of remittances. What happens to those remittances when they come home? What are the banks doing to be able to finish that transaction that it will end in asset creation at the local community level? This is the kind of thinking that needs to go in order to be able to be relevant to the local community that you serve. And once again, the per capita GDP of the Philippines rose almost double from about 2010 because the banks enable its workers abroad to be able to create assets at home. Someone was asking me yesterday, how do you be able to measure what the effect is in the local community? I said that when you go to any village in the Philippines today, the biggest problem they have is childhood obesity. In other words, children are living happily, and their problem is that they need to be healthy as well.